Some interesting clinical research has been done using Capsimax. Could you describe some of that research for us? Some of
Sure.
the studies that have been done.
Yeah, there's been one study that was recently published, I believe, back in May. And this was in the Journal of Strength and Conditioning Research. And this particular study used a blended product, which was Capsimax with, I believe, caffeine and niacin and black pepper extract as well.
Okay.
And they had individuals, I believe 28 men or women, come into this trial. And it was an acute study. They came into the laboratory on 2 days. One day they received the treatment arm, the Capsimax, blended product. One day they received a placebo.
Right.
And they measured metabolic rate. They measured energy expenditure and gas analysis for measurement of lipolysis, et cetera, or fatty acid oxidation. Before exercise, during 60 minutes of exercise, I believe treadmill walking, and then 50 minutes after exercise, that post-exercise period. And what they found essentially was an increase in energy expenditure during the before exercise period, after exercise in addition.
Really?
On the order of around 10 or so %, if I remember correctly. So that was interesting because it showed that a finished product, a product containing the Capsimax at a relatively low dosage with really no adverse outcomes in terms of blood pressure response, heart rate response, which typically are things that you see with a stimulant sort of dietary supplement, which this doesn't appear to be, stimulant per se, but they did notice an increase. So again, when you look at those data, you would suggest that an increase of 10%, before and or after exercise may lead to an increase in energy expenditure. So if an individual were to consume a product like this over the course of time when they're exercising, or perhaps even outside the context of exercise, that it may lead to some sort of weight loss or weight maintenance, over the course of time. Now, again, this is a relatively low dose, and we still noted an effect. So individuals, if they consumed an even higher dose, potentially they'd see more of an effect. But again, they need to be cautious in that regard, because a higher dosage of a product like this, especially if it's a blended product with a caffeine, may allow for an increase in heart rate and blood pressure. And if they're someone who's hypertensive or has a history of cardiovascular disease, that's obviously not an ideal situation. But I think it's interesting. And our study right now, I think, will follow that with similar data, but a much longer time course of measurement, as well as some blood markers of catecholamine secretion and lipolysis.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.